Hello, welcome back to Blender LiveEnoding. In this episode, I'm gonna take you through the creation of this kind of pretty much like generic looking virus. Actually, this is my first try, and you probably can guess how this can be created. At least you have three different steps that you need to do. Like this bubbly part, and then there's this wireframe part, and then also the kind of like the fur part. This is another try the other day. I instead of using like a solid procedural way, I'm using Blender particles, and Blender particles for the hair, the fur bit is actually quite interesting. But anyway, I'll show you the whole process. This thing, by the way, is made up of three parts, like I said. So you can start with this weird hexagonal topology. That's you can get by you can guess it. It looks like Voronoi, but it's actually more like it's a dual mesh. You get that kind of topology simply by subdividing a mesh and then triangulate it, and then you get rid of the center bits of the triangulations. But for simplicity, I'll show you how you can get that. First of all, I'll start with an icosphere, and Blender decided to crash, so I'll start again. I should actually I should load the Blender after I start the recording. This always happens. It's my computer, sorry about that. Okay, with all this icosphere, and right away I will use a bmesh viewer, and this is a procedural icosphere generator, so it's gonna be, you can change this at any time, which is pretty cool. I'll save this real quick. This is virus like kind of design, and yeah, you can play around with the subdivision, but the trick here is to use something called dual mesh processing. It's from an add-on called Tissue. If you follow my previous LiveEnoding, I talk about this Tissue add-on quite a bit. This is by Alessandro Zomparelli. It's really useful. Definitely try it. So if we just select an object and run a dual mesh, it will convert it into something that's with this kind of n-gon kind of pattern. It's very beautiful actually. If we use, for example, this is the second one, and I use dual mesh, we get that. Okay, how about this guy, and then assign dual mesh, you get this pattern. It's quite nice. You'll see that if you subdivide this one time and then apply it, and then apply the dual mesh, you start to get a very interesting intricate pattern of topology. And you can also play around with this different option. You get a different topology, slight different. Anyway, keep it simple. I think I'm gonna keep this one. Gonna delete the rest of them. So this is what we're gonna keep. Actually, this guy is gonna keep updating. Actually, I'm gonna delete this as well. We don't need it. We don't need the viewer bmesh for that. So we keep this guy, and you know that we can simply turn this into a wireframe for this guy, and then we're gonna get this kind of design. It's almost like the virus thing, and if you subdivide this using the subdivision surface and smooth it, you start to get this design. You can tap control 1 or 2 or 3 as well to get that kind of design. Okay, now but the next thing I want to do is to generate the hair. The hair bit should come out from every single points of this structure. So I will use this. I'll do this inside Square Shop. So that's actually the center origin. It's not what we need. See, I'm gonna load this guy anyway into SphereChalk objects. I'm gonna use set object set mk2, actually out, object ID out. That's the one I need. Grab these objects, and with post modifier off, we're gonna get the original object before the wireframe. Okay, so I'm gonna hide this one. So we have this like a soccer ball kind of design, and what we're gonna do next is to create the hair bits. For that, I'll show you a quick little trick. Simply by using matrix in, plug the location into this guy and the matrix, and this is the line goes in here. You get this. So the line is being generated coming out from every points of that soccer ball structure, and we want to rotate kind of like following the normal of the structure. So we simply use the vertex normal plug into the angle. You get this. It's kind of doing it, but you need to switch to the z-axis. That's very, very important. Now you can start to see where this is going. Okay, so the line will generate the hair parts of these creatures, and you can kind of make the lines kind of randomize and whatnot. Maybe I should do that. I'll do the quick one, a very simple one. Just apply the matrix into a single object, turn it into a single object. So I'm gonna cut all these. There's a better way to do this, and then kind of using the resampling as well. But this is for simplicity, and just a vector. Actually, here I'm gonna increase the number of line and then reduce the step. Now we have this kind of structure. The next thing we want to do is to randomize. Let's randomize it a little bit so it's wiggling. Okay, and then you can turn this into renderable object just simply by using polyline. So that's should be working. Polyline seems to be connecting everything. Well, perhaps we should do it like this. That's a little bit better, I guess. So that's for the hair bits, and we can grab our object back. Okay, so that's so we have two parts ready, and one more bit is the bubbly part. Okay, let's continue with this. Using the same object, we're just gonna use a viewer vmesh. And plug this into that guy. So we have this back, and then we want to kind of extrude it. So extrude separate faces. That should work. So for the whole process here, the only non-procedural part is actually the dual mesh process. One day, hopefully, we have like a nodes that can do dual mesh. You can actually kind of find a way around it. Kind of if you do the subdivision inside SphereChalk and then kind of get rid of and then you do triangulations and get rid of the center points of the triangulations, you get a dual mesh kind of design. I might actually try that. So this is gonna be for the center bit. If you want to be like to do this cleaner, we kind of extrude it in a little bit, like so. If I show the wire, so I extrude in this structure, and then I will extrude out. So that's the whole process. It's pretty simple. Extrude out. Okay, let's see. This is the extruded bit, and this is the non-extruded bit. I'm gonna sometimes this is a little bit tricky, but not too bad. Mesh join. So this is extruded. This have to use list join. So this goes in there, and the same thing goes in there. This and this, join them together, and then plug into this guy, and we have that. And we need to use remove doubles. For the extruded poly, however, we need to do something, one more thing. Slightly confusing, sorry about that. What I want to do is really to extrude these bits one more time. So the extruded poly need to be extruded one more time. That, okay. Cool. And probably it's a good idea to use a viewer before we do anything. And this is the original polygon, I believe. Okay, now we can combine them together. List join. So this guy and this guy, this and extruded poly. Mesh join. So this one goes in there, and then extruded poly goes in here. Maybe I need the whole object here. Okay. Phew, there you go. That's the whole setup. It's slightly confusing, sorry about that. Sometimes have to kind of try and error. But now we have the final design here, and we can still control the scaling, which is nice. And we can really fit the virus looking objects. So okay, we have the base, it's ready. It's maybe we need to remove double as well in here. I gotta say the extrusion thing still a little bit confusing at the moment, but not too bad, you know. Remesh, turn on smooth shade, fix vertex count, calculate normal. Okay, that should be pretty much it. Okay, with the with the hair, we probably can randomize the hair a little bit better. We can increase the vertices and make it shorter. That's a little bit weird. Random actually use a range integer for the seed, and pretty sure if we're just gonna use like number there. This spline is gonna make this a little bit smoother for the hair. Try something. Okay, we shouldn't increase the step too much. This is very small, and I guess that's kind of decent. Maybe you can definitely improve this much better. But I think 80% of the process is pretty much procedural here. Apart from the dual mesh, everything else is pretty much procedural, and there's a bit of help of Blender own modifier here and there, but it's kind of like a touch up. These hair bits, if you want to close it, you need to use a circle in the bevel objects, I think. Actually, you can... No, you cannot close it like that. You can use a skin modifier as well. If you don't want to use a curve, you can turn the curve into a single object. But of course, you can always use UV connections and skin modifier. Skin measure. So UV connection from this guy goes in here. It's gonna be edges. And the matrix can go in there. And make the radius really small. Yeah, I think there you go. That's skin measure doing it. If you select this, you can see. So this is like a bunch of skin modifier objects. Somehow it's a little bit like twisted around. Yeah, this is pretty interesting looking. And then currently we have like 80 objects. You can of course just combine them. So instead of doing it like this, just apply matrix. So you can see now it's like the whole process. This is actually what I'm doing if I'm not recording. There's a lot of trial and error here and there. But anyway, you will get there. So you get this, and then you can smooth it as well if you like. You can definitely play around with the radius here. I'm not gonna do that, but that's the whole virus looking objects. Yes, of course you can do this. You can model this like manually, and for the hair bits you can use Blender particles. I might actually try that in the next live noding anyway. Blender particles hair is actually very interesting. It's almost procedural because you have a lot of options to generate the hair, and yeah, that's definitely worth doing. But for now, I guess this is pretty much it for this live noding. Hopefully you find this useful. Sorry, there's a lot of hiccup here and there, but this is the whole process, you know. Sometimes you have to keep trying until you get it. The nice thing about this setup is, of course, you can generate another one, like a torus. Start with a torus, and then you apply the dual mesh thing. And once you have this design, you can simply source this, and then just wait a few seconds. Hopefully, it will generate another new virus. It's gonna do the extrusion. It's gonna create the hair. Maybe the wireframe things you need to do manually. But anyway, that's it should work pretty much. So yeah, while it's taking a while, maybe I just gonna stop here and then gonna show you the result later. Thank you. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video.